Hi, Emmanuel here with T2S. T2S stands for Transformed to Succeed. In this video, I'll be talking and sharing just a little bit about Kubernetes. When you talk about Kubernetes, that's the way you write it, and then the number of the letters, that's 8, and sometimes they refer to it as K8. So this is a way or a technology that you can use to orchestrate your Docker containers. And Docker containers, it's a virtualization technology that allows you to deploy and provision applications or even operating systems in a very portable, reusable way. What that means is that you pull an image from a registry, and which could be like Elastic Container Registry. Elastic Container Registry, that's ECR, and this is for AWS. So you find it on AWS, that's Amazon Web Services. Or you can find it on the Docker registry. And there are so many others or other places where you can go and then get those images. And when you get those images, Docker will containerize. It's gonna containerize, you containerize or build that image. So you get the image, which is kind of like the base, and then on top of that image, so it's gonna be like this one here. So you get, this is the image that you pull from a registry. This is a registry, okay? So you pull, this is a pull command. So you pull it from there, and then you take this image. On top of this image, what you do, you can build different layers. So you have layer number 1, layer number 2, and layer number 3, and this become your desired application. So this is your application. You get the base image first, and which is one of the best practices. So you need to use, as the image that you want to use should be as clean as possible. No layers built on top of that image. Okay. In an interview, they may ask you that. So you pull that image, just the simple image, with the libraries, packages to define this image. And then you, according to your requirements, then you can add layers on top of that image, and this become your application. And now remember, a Docker container allows you to build just this one image. So what if you wanted you wanted more containers? Okay, so instead of just one, and I want to orchestrate just not one container, but 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, you see, because I want more applications. I want to make my infrastructure highly available, meaning that if one application dies or fails, one container fails, I need another one. And this is where we go a little bit deeper. We talk about the Docker file. We talk about Docker Compose. And all of these technologies, they help you orchestrate all of that. But now, the most prominent tool, or the most widely spread tool that we use, is Kubernetes, K8s. So we use this to orchestrate. So it orchestrates containers, Docker containers. Part of this video, I'm going to show you how, instead, because Kubernetes, you can host it on a local machine, or you can host it on a virtual machine, which could be residing on premises or on the cloud. So you on the cloud, like in the case of AWS, you use EC2 instances. What I have here, I have a script with Terraform codes. So these Terraform configurations are going to allow us, they're going to allow us to deploy EKS cluster. So we're going to deploy an Elastic Container Service. Elastic Container Service, it's Elastic Kubernetes Service. Sorry, it is a native tool that AWS provides. So we're gonna use that to spin up an EKS cluster on AWS. I also have, I think I have another video showing you to how you can do it. But it's not just doing that. In addition, I want to show you how you can deploy. You can deploy Jenkins. You know, first we have to provision EKS cluster. So we're gonna provision that. So that will be number one. And number two, we want to deploy. We want to deploy Jenkins on our EKS cluster. Okay, so we want to deploy that. But how do we do that? And to do it, we will use Helm. So Helm chart is another tool that you can take advantage with to orchestrate your Kubernetes clusters. So your Kubernetes cluster, you can orchestrate them. Excuse me, I'm gonna change how to. Give me a moment here. I was just changing my way of moving my screen here. So Helm chart will help you orchestrate your Kubernetes clusters, meaning that you can use Helm to deploy Jenkins, you can use Helm to deploy SonarQube, SonarQube, that's a tool that you can use to scan your images. You can use Trivy to scan your containers. All of these, they help you identify vulnerabilities. But before we do that, let me explain to you just a little bit about, I'm going to explain to you a little bit about, let me go to what I need to show you here. So this is just an overview, a high-level overview of Kubernetes, and I'm gonna show it to you now. So when you think of a Kubernetes cluster, so you're looking at a cluster. When you think of a cluster, you have more than one component, right, in that grouping of resources that you want to create. And the first one, in terms of Kubernetes, that's what we call the control plane. Then the control plane has the following components. It has the Cloud Control Manager. The next one is the etcd, you would call it. The next component is Scheduler. You have Controller Manager. Then you have the Kube API Server. So the way these components work is that the etcd, that's like the brain of the control plane. It stores every information and it keeps track of what's going on. And then the scheduler is when the controller manager finds out that based on the manifest or the state in which you want all of your components of your class to be in, if something is missing, then the controller manager will talk to the control plane saying, hey, something is missing. Like, let's say there's a container or a pod that's the basic unit of the cluster. Let's say the pod is not working. A pod can have one application or more. So if a pod is down, then we need to make sure that we have another one running, right, to make our application highly available. So no downtime. And to avoid that, the controller manager is kind of like the eyes of the whole cluster, checking on everybody in this group, in this family. So if something is wrong, it's going to talk to the control plane. Control plane will say, okay, the etcd, that's where we have all the information. They'll say, okay, what do we have here? Okay, this is the manifest. The manifest, it's like a file that defines the state in which you want your every member of this family, this cluster, to be in. And then the scheduler would say, okay, so what do I need to do here? And then looking at the etcd, it's going to say, okay, this is how we should have every pod, what kind of state they need to be in. Then it goes back to the Kube API, because the Kube API, that's what allows the members of the family to communicate with the control plane. And now, so in addition to the control plane, you have now the worker nodes. The worker nodes have the kubelet that allows the node. A node could be a virtual machine, or it could be a local machine like your computer to do that. And you have the kube proxy. Then you have the different pods. So a node can have more than one pod. It can host more than one, more than a pod, meaning that you can have, like, it could be a SQL application, like it could be a virtual machine, it could be a web application, it could be anything here, or you could be all of the above. All right, so that's the node. The kubelet allows the node to communicate with the control plane. Kube proxy, that's to allow like access, in and out. And you can have more than two nodes in the cluster, more than one more node, and again with the same type of components. This is kind of like how this cluster operates, and you can read more about all of this. And so this is like part one of what I wanted to share with you. So it's going to be part one, and then part two, I'm going to show you how you can install and provision a cluster, a Kubernetes cluster on AWS using the native Elastic Kubernetes Service that AWS provides. And for that, we'll use, for us to do that, we're going to use Terraform configurations, and they are already on GitHub. So you just git clone to get access to these configuration files. And in the next video, we'll talk about how we can install that and see how we can use Helm to orchestrate the deployment of Jenkins, SonarQube. What else do we want to use? Trivy, and probably two more DevOps tools that you can implement or integrate into your pipeline. Well, thank you so much for watching. And again, my name is Emmanuel. I am with T2S, and T2S stands for Transform to Succeed. You like this video, I would really appreciate you to just check like or click on like, and more importantly, subscribe and share this video. It may help somebody else too. Thanks a lot. God's blessings. I'll see you in the next one.